Jesus prays that all Christians would understand that we are missionaries. The question is not, are we missionaries? The question's rather, are we good or bad missionaries? Here's how he prays for us, verse 14. I have given them your word, and the world has hated them because they are not of the world, just as I am not of the world. I do not ask that you take them out of the world, but that you keep them from the evil one. They are not of the world, just as I am not of the world. Worldly meaning sinful rebellion and folly against God. Sanctify them in the truth. Your word is the truth. As you sent me into the world, so I have sent them into the world, and for their sake I consecrate myself, that they also may be sanctified in the truth. Let me unpack this. Jesus says, first of all, that he's a missionary. Jesus was in heaven, he's God, came to earth. He says he was sent. More than 40 times in John's gospel alone, including this verse, Jesus says, the Father sent me. So Jesus is a missionary, sent on a mission. He learns the language, the customs, the cultures, the holidays, gets to know the people, goes to social events. We see him at weddings and house parties and meals and dinners. He goes to places like Samaria, other cultures. He sits down with a woman at the well, speaks the truth into her life, and she becomes converted. We see how Jesus works as a missionary. Always remind yourself, Jesus is God, sent into human history as a missionary. He understands the culture, he lives in the culture, he serves in the culture, he loves people in the culture. He's a great, perfect, sinless missionary. Ultimately, his mission is to die and rise to take away our sin and to give us salvation. And then Jesus says here, as the Father has sent me, I'm going to send all the Christians. So if you're a Christian, you're a missionary, right? Where you live, that was God's choosing. When you were born, that was God's choosing. God chose when we were to be born and where we would live. That's what it says in Acts 17. God determines where and when we live. So God sent Jesus at a time to a place. God has sent you and sent me to a time and a place. We all are here gathered in Seattle right now. Today, this is God's plan for our life. We're to be missionaries here today. That's what we're supposed to do. And if you move or God should relocate you, then you're to be a missionary there, wherever it is that you go. So first thing is we're all missionaries, and Jesus says that there are two aspects of being a missionary, being sanctified and being sent. Now, being sanctified here, Jesus says, I sanctify myself, and I am sanctified for this mission. Sanctified here means holy or set apart, right? That he's got a real particular mission. Ultimately, it's to save sinners. In the same way, how many of you are married women? Okay, married women? Okay, married women, okay. Then there's a couple of you, and you married men now will be able to understand what I'm talking about. The single men will have no idea. But what happens when you get married is this. You have two sets of dishes and two sets of cutlery. You do. One is for normal use, right? You put your hot pocket on it. It's just the normal plate and spoon. For you single guys, it's. I know you have a spork and everything comes in a bag, but you may have seen this at your mom's house. A plate and a fork and a spoon and a knife, and it goes together as a set. And there's just average dayware that you use all the time, and it's common. But then there's sanctified place settings, right? They're sanctified. They're special, right? If you put a hot pocket on one, you'll sleep on the couch. It's not meant for that. You are breaking a rule, okay? And the sanctified plates are used for what? And the sanctified cutlery is used for what? Special occasions. Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter brunch, special, sanctified, set apart, holy, right? Not like the spork. That's for common use. When Jesus says he's sanctified, what he's saying is, I'm set apart. I'm special. I'm here on a very particular mission. God the Father has chosen me to get a few things done, namely saving sinners. So Jesus says, I'm sanctified, I'm set apart for this mission, and every Christian is sanctified, set apart for their mission, right? Every Christian has some special things that God has them to be about in their life as a missionary. Certain people love, certain places to pray for, certain things to do, certain ways to serve. You've got a mission. And in saying this, that means we are to live lives of holiness. That we are to, with our conduct, be separated from the world, be distinct from the world. Jesus never sinned. Our goal is, by the power of the Holy Spirit, to not sin. So when we go into the world, we need to be careful. We're not sinning. not sinning. So you know what? We do sex and relationship and money and power and alcohol. We do it differently. We're set apart. We use these things differently. We do life differently. We have different thinking and valuing and acting and speaking and behaving. We're to be distinct because we belong to God. So Jesus says, I'm set apart. Jesus is different. He does things differently than the world. Right? He doesn't, as a single guy, take advantage of women. He doesn't go to parties and get drunk. Now, he has single women who are friends, and he does go to parties, but he doesn't sin. So he is set apart. He's sanctified. He's holy in how he conducts himself. So we're to be sanctified and sent into the culture. This means you love non-Christians. You have friendships with non-Christians. This means that you do enjoy the city and the culture in which we live. It means you're a good missionary trying to figure out who lives here, what do they do, what do they think, what do they feel. This means we intentionally pursue relationships with people that are not Christian. We intentionally love people who are not Christian. We intentionally serve the whole city and want good for the whole city. And we want this to be the best city that we can because we love the whole city and we love all the people in the city.